Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we are starting a reading vlog. So, love is in the air. It is February, the month of love. I'm not saying that it's Valentine's Day because I know me and this is not going to be going up on Valentine's Day, but it'll be close enough. So, I'm just saying that it's the month of love, not just like the day of love or the long weekend of love. I don't know. In this reading vlog, we are going to be trying some more romance. This has become a yearly tradition on my channel. For the past couple of years, I have been trying genres. So I've done contemporary romance, dark romance, fantasy romance, historical romance. Last year, I read some sequels. We're starting something new this time, a trope taste test. And for my start off, I have decided to go with the second chance romance trope. I feel like this could be a trope that very much appeals to me. One of my favorite romance books of all time has this, which is Happy Place by Emily Henry. That is my favorite Emily Henry. Controversial opinion. I know lots of people do not like that book. That is their least favorite Emily Henry. Not me. I love it. And because of that, I'm like, I want to give this a go. So I've chosen 4 books for this vlog to give me an idea whether or not this trope is for me. I hope to do this more. Maybe I'll do another one come the end of this year and then another one next February. So maybe like twice a year or so I'll do this with a different trope. I'm not going to just push like contemporary romances. Like if there's a historical romance or a fantasy romance or whatever that fits into that trope, I'm open to it. So leave your favorite like romances and like list the tropes that are involved down below so I can get some ideas for next time. But I think personally why this trope could work for me is because it brings drama. And is that a little toxic of me? Yes. But also it has to be resolved by the end. It has to be, I just love the angst in anything. It doesn't even just have to be romance. Like it could be friendship angst or anything like that. I love the like, are they okay? Thinking about them constantly. And I love like the hesitation that might come with the second chance romance. Do I do it? Do I not? He's looking at me. Is he looking at me? Yes. Give it to me. I think this could be a good one for me. So let's talk about the books that I'm going to be trying in this. So I'm going to be reading Ancient History in this video by A.J. Truman. This is a male-male romance that follows a history teacher and the new soccer coach who happens to be his high school ex. We have You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogle. This is the one that has been on my TBR for the longest time. I remember hearing about it, and this was before I even read romance and being like, that sounds so much fun. I think it follows a couple who are engaged to get married, and as the wedding approaches, they both want to call it off, but neither of them wants to be the bad guy, and so they start like pranking each other, annoying the crap out of each other. Then we have 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This is one that I have been vaguely interested in for a while as well. Who did I hear talking about it? I think I've heard Julie talking about it and Nerdy Nash, and maybe somebody else. I think this is quite a popular one. I think it follows 2 timelines, 7 days in June, and we follow their, I think, teenage selves as they have a whirlwind romance, and now they are adults and they potentially have another whirlwind romance. Or then the 4th and final book that I'm going to be reading is Well Actually by Maisie Eddings, and this one is the newest release on this. It came out at some point last year. I think maybe it was the middle of the year. So Well Actually follows a journalist who hosts a talk show, and she is drunkenly scrolling and sees a video of her ex who preaches about trying to break down toxic masculinity, and she just has had a bad day and this is the last straw for her, so she posts a video where she basically says he is the exact opposite of what he is pretending to be, that he is all of the bad stuff he so-called like that he is putting down, that is the kind of person he actually is. And then her media company and him end up teaming, deciding to capitalize on this, and he ends up going on her show to have an interview, and then he ends up taking her on some dates to prove that he's actually changed. So yes, so I think that's all I have to say, so let's get right on into it. Okay, so I'm after starting book 1 for this video, which is Ancient History. I'm only like 10% in, and I already have a feeling this isn't going to be my personal preference, which is disappointing because in theory it sounds great, but I think the writing style is going to be a big issue for me. It's just a little too casual for me. It's very conversational, and I don't mind, especially in like romance, you know, I don't need fancy writing or lyrical or all of that, but it's just a little too simplistic. I think maybe I'll see if I can find like, or try the audiobook, because maybe that might help with that like really casual tone, because maybe like having somebody, you know, talking at me, which is kind of like the vibe of the writing style, like it's very much like Amos is just talking and be like, yeah, and like that's the thing about dating these guys. You don't know what's gonna happen in this. And so it's very much like he's talking to you. He's telling you the story. And it's very like casual. There's a lot of like, it's very like modern. He talks about sass and all of this stuff. So I'm not sure the writing style is going to be my vibe, but I think, as I said, I might try the audiobook to see if that helps. And also, I already like, I want a little more angst. Like, I'm going into second chance. I like, so with that, I feel like what I love in books, whether it's romance-ish or not, like it can even be like friendship related. I love angst. I love the drama. So I feel like that's what I'm like really looking for in these is I want that tension. I want that angst. I want those feelings. And like already, like, yes, obviously he's incredibly hurt by it. And I think there's been some like nice lines about like the loneliness he felt and all that. But like he's not over him. I don't think he ever got over him. And so I think it'd be one thing if he was like still like really bitter about it, really mad. Like obviously he is upset about it, but not in a like rage filled way, in just kind of a that's like one of my lowest moments. And maybe that might change, but I really hope we get a bit more because like they're like speculating about like why he's no longer playing soccer professionally, and he's like, oh my god, I hope everything's okay, I hope he's not hurt, I hope he didn't get in trouble, I hope he didn't. I was like, I don't think you're over him. I'm sorry, it's one thing to have like characters while they're talking to each other be like, I am HO, like, which I don't think a lot of people would actually say the abbreviation. Well, I mean, it depends on what it is. But when we're just in the character's head, you cannot just write TBD. Like, maybe my brain just doesn't work that way, but I don't think TBD. I think to be determined. Like, you're writing a book. You are writing a book. You should not be using, I feel like you shouldn't be using abbreviations. I don't know. That's just me. Like, it's so weird. I have finished Ancient History, and I'm giving it a 2-star. I was really conflicted about my rating at first, but I realized, yeah, it is a 2. So I think what kind of like had me conflicted was the fact that there is elements that I like really like, which usually is not the case. So the way you like a 3-star means I liked the book, but there's things about it that I would change, that I didn't enjoy, didn't 100% connect with me, etc. Whereas a 2-star is I did not like this book. And I can't say that I enjoyed my time with this book. But also, like, there was elements of it that like I did like, and I don't overall think that it's like a horrible book that nobody should read it or anything like that. I think definitely there is an audience. I mean, that it's that way for all books, but like, I mean, there's some books that you're looking at and you're like, is there though? So like the pros, it is nice to read a romance, a male romance that is actually written by a gay author. And I think that adds a level of authenticity to it. There was definitely some like really beautiful quotes about like coming out, the isolation, the fear, and kind of how you can have people that can help you through that, or it can be extremely isolating. I think those parts of it were really well done. I also think it was a very fun dynamic. Like, it's like, yeah, it's a bit like cliched and all of that, but like cliches are fun sometimes. So I did definitely enjoy those aspects, and like I think I enjoyed the characters separately, and I even enjoyed them as a couple, but I just didn't, the way the romance built just wasn't personally my preference, and the writing style was the big no for me. Absolutely not. So I think what I want is like, I want the angst, I want the longing glances. Like, these have a history. Like, it did not end pretty. Like, I want some like bitterness, I want some tension over it. I want them to slowly become friends because they are forced together because they are working in the same building and they can't avoid each other. And so like they're slowly becoming friends, and then they're opening up to each other, and no, I still have feelings. And that just never really happened. It immediately kind of jumps back to where they were. It also kind of jumps back to the same dynamic they had, which was sneaking around, hiding it from everyone. Obviously back then it was because they weren't out. And now one of them still isn't really out. And so I was kind of like, dude, get up off the ground. You're doing it all over again. You wanted to come out with him. You wanted to be together openly. And you're sneaking around again. Like, dude, pull yourself together. You were acting like your teenage self, and you have grown because you are now like in your 30s. Then we also we never got like a conversation. We only got a text conversation with them about what happened when they were younger. Like, I would like them to discuss this in person. The last thing was the writing style. That was really, like, I think it would have been a 3-star if the writing style was fine, but the writing style was an absolute no for me. It is very dialogue heavy, not a lot of descriptions at all. And the casual tone, like, it is too casual, way too, and like, it's a romance book, so I expect a little level of that, but it was way too casual for me. Like, and hey, maybe other people's brains do work this way, but mine definitely doesn't. Like, I do not abbreviate things in my head. I don't go TBH in my head. I go, to be honest. And okay, in a text, even, okay, in fairness, in text message, I don't use text talk. I am a full sentence girly. I don't know, like, do you abbreviate things in your head? Like, maybe lol. I might go lol in my head, like, which is kind of cringe. But, like, everyone in this book, no, okay, no, doesn't work for me. So, yeah. So, that's my thoughts on ancient history. Writing style was a big no for me, unfortunately. But it had elements that I really liked. So if, like, the premise sounds interesting to you and you do not care about an overly casual writing style, then I would say give it a go. So I forgot to mention they were doing sexual acts on school grounds. Let's not do that. That was a big yikes to me. And the principal walked in on them and was like, guys, don't be doing that. Like, I'm pretty sure you would be getting fired, actually, because it's a school. So I have read and finished You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogle. I read it all in like one sitting. I was working on my bullet journal and stuff like that, so I didn't bother updating you. I apologize for that. But I really enjoyed this, but it is a 3-star. And it's like a really high 3-star, like it almost got the 4. I would say after like the 15-20% mark, it was a 4. But before that, not so much. And kind of once she starts giving back as good as she's getting, that comes down to a lot of people are giving the wrong synopsis for this book. They are saying that it's a couple, they've like lost their happiness and all of that, and they start pranking each other because whoever backs out is going to be the one that has to pay for the wedding. And so they start pranking each other and then they like fall in love. That's not actually what happens, though I would love to read a book with that exact synopsis. That sounds like a lot of fun. They are engaged to get married, and they are both kind of dragging their feet with wedding planning because his parents are actually the ones that are footing the bill, and his mother is kind of walking all over her, so she doesn't really even feel like it's her wedding, and he is not very involved either. He, especially in the first bit, which as I said is why I was like, why? I don't like this dude. He's irredeemable to me. He is doing more and more stuff that is getting on her nerves, and she is finding it harder and harder to understand why she is still in this relationship. She keeps reminding herself that she did love him at one point, and these are the things that she did love, and all of this. But there's a lot of things that are starting to get on her nerves. So like, he always buys his mother flowers, but he never buys her flowers, and he doesn't do that much cooking, and he doesn't do that much cleaning, and then he is kind of dismissive of her job because he is like a dentist. He is very well off, his family is, and she works in a like novelty store, and the novelty store is not doing very well, and he at one point is very dismissive of her job, and then she has a realization he's doing it on purpose. He is purposely being awful to try and force her to break up with him, because then he will get all the sympathy from his parents who are paying for this wedding, and he won't be the bad guy. Once she catches on to this, she decides to give back as good as she is getting. And that is when I started to enjoy it, when she started to give back. And it's really funny because actually, and also, but like what makes it funny is the moment she starts to give back to him is the moment he actually decides, I'm changing this actually. Like, they actually have their first fight ever. Like, they are doing all this passive aggressive stuff to each other instead of discussing it or arguing about it. Like, they have never, in their like however long relationship, they never argued. And so they just let all of these little things build up. As I said, they have their first argument, and then after that he's like, something has to change. Like, we can't stay like this. We're not happy staying the same. And so she decides, okay, I'm changing. And so she decides to continue on with her path of, well, you've been doing this to annoy me, so I'm going to do everything that annoys you now. And he decides actually to start trying to be like a good partner. So he's like buying her stuff, and like he's buying her flowers, and she then like thinks he's trying to poison her with like poisonous flowers. So after that it gets a little goofy because he's like, I'm changing. I'm so sick of being stagnant, of being walked over. I'm gonna make some changes in my life. And she's like, that seems unrealistic. This must be part of his plan to make me insane. And so she is trying to give back, but it kind of leaves for this like bit of misunderstanding. And that's when it starts to get really fun, because he is trying to be like, here's like, I was thinking of like taking up hiking. And she's like, but you're a dentist. And as I said, he's like, you keep complaining that I don't buy you flowers. Here's all of the flowers. And she's like, he's trying to kill me. That's the only thing that can. And he's like, meet me in the woods because I have something to show you. And she's like, he's gonna murder me. And so like it just gets kind of ridiculous. And that's when it got fun. That's when I really started to like it. And I will say most of it was really fun. And I think I also appreciated that like it was like a little realistic. I will say the way it ended really annoyed me. Like I think we're gonna have to have like a little bit of a spoiler section, unfortunately, to talk about like my two main gripes, which I've already like half talked about one of those, which is like it was like a little too mean. Like if a couple of things had been cut out, like just 2 or 3 lines that they said to each other that I think crossed a line, I think it would have been a 4-star. But there's a second thing that annoyed me, which to do with the ending, that also bothered me. But aside from that, I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed seeing their growth. I liked how we see them become a team. I like how we see them rediscover or discover for the first time things about themselves, about the other, and kind of I enjoyed the self-reflections, because at first, as I said, you're like, this guy is awful, and it's slowly she starts to realize, wait, I'm a part of this relationship. Like I'm struggling. Yes, I think like maybe his parents are awful, or like I don't like this, I don't like that. But instead of coming to him and saying it, I have like slowly been just building it in resentment towards him. And so like she's slowly like unpacking that and realizing that maybe she hasn't been appreciating things that he has been doing and just focusing on his faults. And then obviously we don't see his point of view, which I think potentially could have helped with the coming across a bit too mean. Okay, I think this is a better angle. So yeah, so we see her grow to kind of realize that maybe she was an unappreciative partner, but we see him as he kind of stops being so much of a pushover and grows a bit of a backbone and becomes more supportive. And so in that way, I do think it's actually kind of, a lot of it anyway, is quite realistic. Like he doesn't go scorched earth and is like telling his parents everything that they've done wrong ever and all of this. Like he just builds up some boundaries. Like, I'm not going to do every single thing for you. And so I think it's kind of realistic in that way. And I appreciated that it wasn't just like everything's magically fixed because they found fun. We saw them try to improve their flaws. And I did really appreciate that part of it. And as I said, I really appreciated the fun ridiculousness bits of it. Like it did make me laugh on several occasions. But as I said, the 2 issues, as I said, I already really talked about one of them. But if you don't want spoilers, I don't think any of this majorly spoils stuff, because like it's a romance book. You have a fairly big idea. I think you have an idea of what's gonna happen. But number 1 was they got married at the end. Like, yes, they don't go through with the big wedding, but I'm like, that was the source of literally all of your problems, was that wedding. Well, it wasn't the source. It was a very large contributing factor to a lot of stress. And you just like went, we're not gonna get married like that. You could have done that from the start. And also, I'm like, you've only just started to fix their problems. I really wish that they had gone to his parents and been like, we're not ready to get married right now. But still obviously be together, because they've realized that they do still love each other and they have some work to do, but like they are in it for the long haul. I didn't love that they got married in the end. And then, as I said, there was a couple of moments where they were a little too mean. Like at one point she says to him, I love you 18%. I'm like, that is such a horrible thing to say to your partner. I love you 18%. And then at one point he says to her that it was a mistake to propose, which again, horrible thing. And he also says, and this is what kind of, this tips her off to the fact that he is doing this on purpose, because she's like, that's unlike him. But he like says to her friends at her job that she loves, he's like, well, you're not going to be here in a year, which he's right about. but he's like, she'll be fine. I can pay for everything. And like, again, he's technically not wrong when he says this stuff, but like the way he said it is very dismissive of her job, and it was icky, and I didn't like. And I think I don't know. I think those are the ones that stick out to me. There might have been a couple more moments where I was just like, okay, you crossed the line a little too much. Like, I think you could like have it that he makes fun of the novelty store, but it's like, is he making fun of the job, or is he making fun of like the novelty store because it's a goofy place? You know, I think you could toe that line where like she's getting upset, but you can brush it off as he's just making fun of the store because it's a fun place. And yeah, so like that kind of stuff. Like, I think she could have worded it maybe a bit better. Overall, I had fun. A couple of issues though. So let's get on to the next one, I suppose. I'm currently reading 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, and this is so far so good. I am only like 30% of the way through, but I said I'd get in, give an update because I think I'm kind of just gonna lock in and try and zoom through the rest this evening. I want like the drama, I want the angst. It might be here. I might get it because in the last chapter, like we literally, their first time talking face to face in all of this time, and she just goes to him, "Stop writing about me," and he just responds, "You first." Yes, this is what I want. So yeah, I'm a little nervous because it's two timelines, which can be a bit iffy with me in, I think, Second Chance, because in like Happy Place I enjoyed it, but I feel like those weren't the main focus. Like, it was really just like flashbacks as a part, not like full like dedicated like timelines. Do you get what I mean? Like, they were just like flashbacks, small little glimpses into how we led up to it. Whereas like, what's the one by Julie Soto? I gave that like a 3-star. That one I feel like was more evenly spread between their first and then what happened now. And I didn't really like it as much in that one because I felt like things hadn't been resolved, or things that she was like very, and yes, obviously people can change their minds obviously, but I felt like things that she was like, characters like said and meant and in the first timeline didn't really get resolved in a satisfying way to me in the second timeline. And because that first timeline was given so much weight, I thought I gave more thought to it, whereas like in like Happy Place and all that, like because it's only like little glimpses, I don't take their word for like nearly gospel. Does that make sense? Maybe not. So I'm a little apprehensive of how much we're going to get, but from what I can tell, we're going to have like another 7-day whirlwind, and I think they're going to kind of like parallel each other. So I'm intrigued and I'm excited because I think this story, like so far, as I said, so far there's definitely the drama. There's like a little bit of humor, not too much. I do like a little bit of fun, and I do like a little bit of more serious, which is why like Emily Henry and Ashley Poston are like my two go-tos, I would say, because I feel like they balance like something very serious going on in their life with, you know, a little bit of laughs, a little bit of ridiculous, a little bit of rom-com. And I think I'm hoping that they'll get this in here, which like that's actually a point that the like at this author conference they were talking about books and how like the most acclaimed like literature, and they were talking about books, but like it goes for movies and stuff like that. Like if you look at like the Oscars, like black women, they get given awards when they're playing like traumatized characters, and it's the same in like literature where like the most esteemed books by like black authors are the ones that focus on the struggles, and like their whole point is that they don't want to just focus on that, they want to write about joy and just life. And I think that's going to be, I'm interested to see how Tia Williams balances this. We've already been introduced to some more serious topics, like we've had talks of like addiction and self-harm and like chronic pain already. So already, and also like an adult being very inappropriate with a teenager. And so we've already had like serious things introduced. But from what I can tell, that is not going to be the focus of the story. Those are going to be things that are happening. And I'm intrigued to see like the balance, because, as I said, because I feel like she could be doing the balance that I like of like the joy and the love and the fun and all of that, while also there is, because like it's life, like she's not focusing from what I can tell. Like, I mean, they're going to come up because they are part of these characters' lives, but I think that they're not going to be like the focus. It's going to be like the aftermath, the recovery, the growing, and the joy that is coming now that they are in better places. I think that's what's going to be the focus, and I feel like that could really work for me. Maybe these will match that same vibe. I'm liking it so far. So yesterday I finished 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, and I'm giving it a 4 star. I overall really enjoyed this book. I think we'll kind of talk about it obviously, but I feel like as a second chance romance, I don't think it's exactly what I'm looking for with this specific trope. We're still trying to find that what I want, like what I'm imagining it, didn't quite meet what I think I would really love in a second chance romance, but like the other aspects of the book, because obviously tropes aren't the be all and end all. Obviously they can be the things that grab your attention. Favorite tropes can leave you down, and tropes that you usually hate can sometimes surprise you because the book can be good obviously. And this book was good. It was a good book and it was a good romance. I did kind of, when I originally I feel like heard about this book, I feel like a lot of people were describing it as more kind of literary, like yes it's a romance but like it's a little more literary, a little more general fiction as well, and I don't actually think that's the case. I would fully put this in the romance category. Like yes, there are serious topics talked about, but the romance is absolutely at the forefront, and I think it's most certainly a romance. But I think, okay, first I'm going to talk about the, like, this is like my nitpick, which is, are authors really that famous that they're getting photographed on the street? Because I'm not even sure, like even my favorite author, I'm not even sure I would recognize her from across a street to take a picture of her. Like I don't think I would. So like I did have to suspend my disbelief on that a little, but like that is not that big of a deal. I just went, is that realistic? And then I moved on with my life. But let's talk about the actual books, the pros, the cons. Mostly pros. I enjoyed both of our characters. They were both very well developed. They felt very real. I enjoyed how we saw their growth. We are looking at them in the present. They are both 32 and they are grown-ups and mostly healed. The past still affects them, but they have grown so much, and we see that like they're still not 100%. They still have not perfect habits. They still have bad thoughts. That is life, but they have grown so much. They have kind of, they have developed healthier habits. We see them now in a really good place, and I think that is a nice thing to read about. Yes, there is darker topics, and I do suggest checking the trigger warnings, because I think when I maybe like first talked about the book, I was like, I think it's gonna like briefly mention these things, but it's not gonna go like in depth. In the past timeline we like see like pretty explicit like self-harm stuff, so check for all of those kind of things before you get into this book. But like in the present timeline, it is all like, yes, obviously this stuff still affects them, but overall I would say it is pretty happy. They're in pretty good places in their life, and it's nice to see that. And like, and also like kind of like the compassion that they have for their younger selves as well. I really liked how both of them were written. I also liked the dynamic that our main character had with like her friends and her daughter, her resilience, her kind of coming to terms with the fact that also she has her flaws, and that she is like trying so hard to rewrite history to make things better for herself, and sometimes that isn't actually in her best interests. I thought that was a really interesting thing to discuss in here. I did, her daughter, at some point I was like, she reads very young, and then other times it was like, no, she's wise beyond her years. But then I'm like, actually, isn't that every 12-year-old girl ever? Like sometimes they say something really insightful and you're like, where did that come from? And then next thing you're like, are you too? So like I'm actually like, maybe that's actually realistic. So I enjoyed their dynamic. I liked that didn't like get shoved to the side or at any point. It is a huge part of her life, and just because she gets a boyfriend, it does not mean, or this world we're in romance, it does not change everything. I enjoyed his story as well, and like how he's trying to make amends, and I appreciate that he kind of like went into this being like, hey, I still love you. Like I appreciate the honesty, my dude. Is that my personal preference probably when coming to romance? Not really. We'll talk about that like later. What I think my dream is in my head of like how this kind of stuff will go. But overall, like I can't be mad about it. Like at least he's upfront. And so I enjoyed that. I enjoyed their dynamic together. One thing I kind of said going into this that I thought maybe second chance romance would work for me because it would have like the tension and like some angst and drama. And this one, I don't really think that delivered these to me, but it definitely delivered on like passion and chemistry. This book has that in bucket loads. So like not necessarily what I want, I think, from this trope, but they absolutely have it, and like I'm not gonna criticize. It was very well written. You could feel the energy coming off these two, and I enjoyed. Obviously they both talk things out like an adult. They're, yes, when they were 17 there was miscommunication, but they talked it through like adults like they are now, and I enjoyed that. I thought they made sense together, and I enjoyed that they both kind of agreed to work through stuff together. And I do think plot-wise, like the romance is the plot. As I said, I felt like people were talking more about it being like a little more literary. We get only brief mentions of their books, like that really isn't as focus. Like we don't get a lot of plot revolving around either of those things. I think I would have liked that maybe a little more. I think I would have liked, this book is like a 330. I think I would have liked like maybe 50 more pages, just to develop a couple of things a little more, like their jobs and kind of what they're writing and all of that stuff. I think that would have been interesting, but it's not necessary. Like it is a romance book, and so the plot is the romance. So like I'm okay that there wasn't like a huge other side plot. Like there was little ones, but there's nothing major. But I liked it. Writing style, again, I liked it. Again, back to my like when people had said that it was literary. Like I do think this is a more like polished writing style than maybe a lot of contemporary romances, but it is not like flowery or over the top or extremely like dramatic. Like it's still extremely readable. As I said, maybe a little more polished. And I will say my one criticism with the writing was like there was 3 times I think where other characters just had a random point of view. I don't think I like that in romance, just a personal preference thing. It just kind of felt a bit lazy, like you couldn't give us this information or give us this dynamic without us seeing in their heads. And I think you should actually be able to do that without us seeing inside their heads. So again, it's not anything that impacted my enjoyment like majorly. It's not like I was like, wow, now I hate the book. Like it wasn't that. It was like 3, maybe like 2 or 3 pages each, so it didn't take up too much of the book, so it was fine. It's me on to my one like kind of major criticism slash kind of my expectations of this trope versus reality. And obviously, as I said, I think sometimes people go into books, including me in this experiment, let's be honest, with certain expectations because of tropes that are listed. And maybe we should be a little more open-minded, including me, because this definitely was a different kind of, it didn't give, as I said, it didn't give kind of the tension, the drama, all of that. And my major kind of issue was the timeline of events. And I will say, the epilogue did kind of fix this. And I did appreciate it a lot because it was kind of going to be, you know, the way I rank my books every year. And so I was like, this probably, it's going to be a 4-star, but it's probably going to be like in the lower end of my 4 stars. I feel like it's going to be like the middle of the 4 stars now because the epilogue did fix a lot, come to like timeline wise for me. So I think for me, what I want in a second chance romance would be, I want kind of a bit of bitterness, I think, which is that a little toxic of me, perhaps. Like, I think that's what I want there to be, a little bit of, I want there to be that tension. I want there to be like a little bit of bitterness at first. And like, they're annoyed by each other. I want that. And then they're annoyed by each other. They're kind of in the way. And then we get that development, obviously, where maybe like they just keep running into each other. They can't seem to avoid each other, or they're forced, like Happy Place by Emily Henry, they're forced to pretend that they're still together so they don't ruin the summer. Obviously, like the first book that I read in this video, Ancient History, they're forced to work together. Obviously, again, I had the same issue with like the timeline wise in that, but I want them to be trying to avoid each other. Like that didn't happen in this book or the other book. I want them to be trying to avoid each other, and they just keep running into each other. They just keep getting in the way, and it's like fate nearly, and it's like you just can't avoid it. And like then, you know, it's like, you know, glances over here, and like, you know, they touch hands, and it's, there's still that spark there, all that kind of like drama, you know. I want that. And then obviously we start to maybe like build that friendship first, and then, you know, I'm falling in love again. That's what I want. Okay. And that book and this book, obviously the title of it is 7 Days in June, so we are following 7 days when they're younger, which like 17-year-olds being insane and passionate and being like, yeah, you're the love of my life. Realistic. 32-year-olds having a 7-day whirlwind, not as realistic to me. Like I would prefer like 14 days in June, and like the first week is them avoiding each other, and then they keep like, it's just like they keep getting drawn together, and then the second 7 days is this book. So I think that's like the thing that would have like bumped it up even further for me, is just like her trying to avoid him for a little while, just being, or like, and even him being like yeah, I still have feelings for her, but like I don't want to get in the way, she has her own life, like them avoiding each other. And then the book plays out as it did. I think that would have made things, would have improved my enjoyment personally, as all personal preference things. But I will say she did kind of fix that, because the two of them kind of, without spoilers, like they're both like, are we getting like wrapped up in the passion of it again? And we're like adults now, and we have to be responsible people, and we can't just, you know, come in and like barge into each other's lives with like this week of passion like we did when we were 17. We have to be adults now. And so I did appreciate that you kind of like, in the epilogue, we kind of see them being like, is there more than just passion here? Is there actual love? Is there actual romance? And I did like that she did do that in the end, because I was very afraid that she wasn't. So as I said, she did kind of fix my issue, but as I said, I would have preferred if that came before, actually. But I get it, because the whole premise is it's 7 days, and then 15 years later it's another 7 days. It's like, I get it, but personal preference rights, I preferred. So yeah, overall really enjoyed it. 4 stars is obviously a great rating, and that leaves one more book, which is Well Actually. And I feel like for the trope wise, like I feel like this definitely has more mixed reviews than some of the books I read in this. Like definitely more than 7 Days in June, it has more mixed reviews, but I feel like trope wise, this is what I'm looking for. I have read and finished Well Actually by Maisie Eddings, and I give it 4 stars. So we started low, we ended up high. This was my favorite book of the video. It gave me what I wanted. Like when I was talking about I wanted the drama, I wanted bitterness. I got it. I really like this. I will say, I kind of had 2 main complaints that stopped me from loving this book. Like one of them is kind of like, it's a bit nitpicky and all this, like it kind of bothered me a little, which is the fact that it is very obviously based on Chicken Shop Date, and our main character is talking about how she doesn't like her journalism career, because Amelia de Moldenberg, who is the creator of Chicken Shop Date, she started that while she was in college. She talks about how when she started, it was her and like a friend doing it, that she has built this up from the ground, yet has gotten her so many opportunities now, like actual red carpets, but you can tell she still has great amount of love and joy. And she does, yeah, it's not serious journalism, but it is journalism. And I thought, I didn't like, I don't know, something just like bothered me a little about the fact, it kind of felt like our author was dismissing that. Like there's no way anyone who actually has a journalism degree would actually want to be doing this with themselves. And I thought it was very dismissive of the exact concept you were taking for your plot. Like it just rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. And as I said, it's not, I don't think it's that serious. And as I said, it's still my favorite book of this. It's a high 4 star, but like it's definitely one of those things that like held me up back from like the full 5. I just didn't like the way they were talking about the concept, because the concept that she's basing it off is something that is very dear to a person who has put so many years and effort, like 10 years she has put into that. And you are kind of being like, a serious journalist wouldn't like this. So it just, yeah, I didn't like that 100%. And then my other main complaint, okay, actually, never mind, I have 2 more. Number 1, I wish we kind of talked about her problems a little more. Not necessarily that, but I think we didn't really get like a resolution that was satisfying to that, because like, even if it was just like, I'm going to work on this, like her acknowledging that this is an issue that she has. Like she very much has like abandonment issues. And like she never really acknowledges it, that, and I wanted that. Like it didn't have to be like fixed, but just her to acknowledge it, that it's something that she does have to work on, where it never really happens. And I'm like, that could be an issue in like the future of their world. So I wish, even because like he very much talks about how he's going to a therapist and she's not doing that. And even if she had been like, maybe I'll give it a try because I have stuff to work through, that would have been enough for me. But like, that was just, again, another like, it's not that big of a deal, but just hampered it a little. I wish we kind of like, or at least if she had like a conversation with him about it, like an in-depth, like emotional kind of moment. I tried to find a quiet area. I'm not sure I succeeded, but anyway, so yeah, I just wish we kind of got that like deep conversation about it between the characters. And then my last thing that kind of like held it back from the 5 star, because like, as I said, really high 4 star. Like I really like this book, so I'm obviously bombarding you with negativity, but I actually really liked it. But was the spicy scenes way too long, and for my personal preference. Oh my god, they went on. And I was listening to the audiobook, and the voice the narrator put on was not attractive, actually. It was actually very off-putting, and they were like 40 minutes. Positives. I really liked this. I really liked our 2 characters. I liked the depth. I liked the themes. We have bi/pan rep, which I enjoyed, and we had, like, it gave me the angst and the drama that I wanted. Like, she is determined to not like him. She is bitter, and she's like, I'm going to hate you. And then slowly she's like, damn it, I'm being charmed by him. Like, oh, I'm smiling at his jokes, and I love it. The resistance, and just give it at the end, he just wins her over. Yes. I enjoyed his character, like his backstory. There was a lot of depth to it. Like, it did feel like he was a good person who had changed. Like, you understood his reasonings. It didn't make it okay, but it was understandable, and we don't get his perspective at all. So, like, she really did a good job of, like, showing who he is now and, like, winning us over with him without us having to, like, feel his feelings, which is impressive, because sometimes I kind of found that with You Deserve Each Other, because we weren't getting his perspective. I was just like, wow, he's terrible. And it's kind of hard when you're not seeing why he said this in his own head. It sometimes can be hard to win me back over. But she absolutely did that, nailed it. I really liked the side characters as well. I thought, like, they added a lot to the dynamic. I also liked the plot, like, because, like, their jobs do actually come into it as well a little, and so I like that. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Like, it's so hard for me, I think, to talk about what I like about romances, but I just really had a good time with this. It, as I said, it gave me the drama, it gave me the angst. Like, there was that bitterness, that slow falling. Like, I think I also like maybe a slow burn, like that kind of, like, resistance, the winning over, and then, like, the happy fluffy feelings. The third act was not actually, like, a huge deal or anything like that. It wasn't even really about them, which I like. And yeah, just overall a really fun time. Also, I just realized that is the last book that I have to talk about, so I should actually probably wrap this up. I'm trying to think. I mean, I guess the whole point of this video is, do I like second-chance romances? And the jury is still out on that. I would say this is one of my more successful romance reading vlogs, because I usually have, like, a 1 star. I don't think I've ever had one where I've had 2 4 stars. So I think that's a massive win. I usually have only 1. So I have 2 4 stars and a 3 star and a 2. So I think, like, average rating wise, this is probably one of the better ones. I do like when I get a sneaky 5 star, but it didn't quite happen with this one. But in fairness, I think it's like everything. I don't think there's gonna be, like, one specific trope or one specific way of writing or anything like that is going to make me, like, love a romance, because I think I'm just really picky, and so I will like some and I will not like others, and that's not really a fun conclusion to this experiment, but that is the conclusion. I would say overall I've had a better time, but also I think what I want from a second chance romance is more like Well Actually and Happy Place. Like, those are what I want, a little more, like, tension, and those are the ones that kind of delivered in that. So it's also hard to know what authors mean by second chance, because some of them it's immediately swept back in the whirlwind, and others it is like that, more like I'm holding myself back. And I don't think I like the, like, swept away like it was before. I don't really think that's my personal preference, but, like, they don't tell you that in the synopsis, so it's going to be hard to, like, pick them apart. I think I'm going to go through, because I can't do it off the top of my head, and I'm going to actually every single book that I read, because as I was thinking about it, I was like, actually, I think I've read more. Like, I haven't read a lot of romance, full stop, but I think I've actually read more second chance romances than I thought I had. Like, the only one that was really coming to my head was, like, Happy Place, and what was the other one? There was another one, I think, but now I can't remember. But I do think there was a second one. And then, as I'm still thinking, like, yesterday or whatever, and I was like, wait, like, the X-Hex was also one, which I did give that a 3 star. So, like, there might be a couple, so I'm gonna, like, make a chart of, like, my 5, my 4, my 3, my 2s, my 1s, and you can see how they align. And if this tells you something about, like, a specific second chance romance or something like that I need to read, then maybe let me know about it. Here's just a tier ranking of every single romance book that I've read. There's definitely a couple that are, like, is it fantasy romance or is it not, that aren't included here, but, like, pause, have a look, tell me what I should read based on this. I think I might do a video where I actually, like, go through everything. Let me know if you're interested in that. So here is my very generous second chance romance ranking. Some of these are, like, one night stand or a weekend or just even a kiss, so I was very generous with what I applied here, but I just, for fairness sake, I said I did include them all. I think this is pretty good. I mean, I haven't hated any. I disliked only one. Anything that is 3-star and above, I liked it. I had some problems maybe, but I overall liked them. So I feel like this matches pretty well, if not even maybe a little better. I quickly did the maths. I could be wrong. I could be inaccurate, but I think my second chance romance rating is a 3.5, whereas my overall romance is a 3.1. So I guess we can count this as a success. So yes, so thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.